Thank you very much. Sabah al-Khair. I'm actually half Egyptian. My father was from Egypt and my mother from Sweden. And I am very happy to be back in Egypt again. I haven't been there for a while, but I feel so at home when I'm in Egypt. I'm also happy to be back with the scouting movement. You may not know, but I was a scout myself for many, many years when I was young. I was a scout, and I learned the values of diversity, universality, kindness, and goodness from the heart to the whole of humanity. Everyone, irrespective of race, religion, gender, political opinion, ethnicity, whoever you are, we are all one humanity. And that's also how I was brought up and ended up in the scouting movement. And after that, I went on to join the Swedish Red Cross and Red Crescent movement, where I also started working on humanitarian law. And then I decided I wanted to work for the United Nations, so I studied law. I studied human rights law, international humanitarian law. And I was 23, 24 years when I joined the United Nations. And I've been doing that ever since in my life. So I can say that the past 35 years have been to pursue the values of the scouting movement, which I joined at the tender age of 7, and continued my life path. And it all starts, I think, with education. Education from home, from your parents. I grew up in a home where universality, diversity, humanity, tolerance were part of my education. And then I went to school and experienced the same sort of education. And that's the kind of education that Education Cannot Wait, the Global Fund for Education in Emergencies, which is part of the UN system and which I represent. It is, yes, academic skills. Yes, it's the arts. And arts is a very good form of expressing that. It's math and reading and writing, but it's also how to educate our heart and how we soften our heart in a world that today is a very, very cruel word. And that's why our hope is with the young generation. We need you. I'm a mother of 2 young, well, they're not so young, but they are 26 and 31. And I brought them up, and their father brought them up to have the hearts to make this world a better place. Over the years, I have seen so much human suffering. Human suffering that puts everything in your own life into perspective. From girls' education in Afghanistan that today is banned from secondary school upwards. This is wrong. It does not represent any religion, and certainly not Islam, nor any other religion or faith-based belief. I've seen the suffering of refugees and migrants from Venezuela going to Colombia, trying to keep up with their learning, going to school where we are making investments. The suffering of young people and children in Haiti who are suffering from gang violence. Across sub-Saharan Africa, the Sahel, South Sudan, not to talk about what's happening in Sudan today. I have lived and worked in many of these places, and I lived and worked in Sudan, in Khartoum. And to see what is happening, I'd like to express my sincere gratitude to the government of Egypt, Hakoum al-Masr, for taking care of the Sudanese refugees whom I met with yesterday. They are being integrated into the public school here in Egypt, and they are suffering tremendously from the cruel, cruel conflict in Sudan. We must be there for them. I have lived and worked and seen the suffering of the Palestinian people. And for as long as I live, I will keep them in my heart. And I pray to God that they will survive, because they are suffering tremendously as I stand here. And I've seen the suffering of people in sub-Saharan Africa who are fleeing from one conflict to another. Extreme poverty. That's why we need the youth. We need the youth to say we need a better world. And since the scouting movement is connected to the United Nations stands for the values that are universal to all of us, irrespective of who we are. And that's something I learned also as a lawyer. Always be impartial when it comes to human beings. It doesn't matter who you are, but your suffering is my suffering, and I will not allow that to happen. I need to be strong inside to stand up for everybody, not to take sides. Suffering is never justified, and to inflict suffering on other human beings can never be justified. We have to soften our hearts. And you as the young people, the other day we commemorated the World Humanitarian Day at the UN. And the United Nations Office Coordination of Humanitarian Affairs, they made a beautiful, beautiful video. They said to all world leaders, all of you who have political power, I'm not a politician, I'm a civil servant, but please adhere to the Universal Declaration of Human Rights, to the UN Charter that was created by people of high heart to create a better world. And you as the young people, teach your children to be the peacemakers. And that can be no peace without justice. Justice and peace go hand in hand. And that every human being has the same value. You are the future politicians, the future teachers, the future, and today's flag bearers, to paraphrase the Deputy Secretary General of the United Nations, Amina Mohammed, the flag bearers of diversity, tolerance. You are the ones that will change the world and make it a better place, and to bring up your children to be the flag bearers, starting off as a scout, being closely connected to the United Nations. And let me end here, as I stand here, and I think of all people who suffer. And right now I'm heartbroken. I'm heartbroken to see what is happening to the people of Sudan. I'm heartbroken to see what's happening in Gaza and the West Bank to the Palestinian people. I'm heartbroken for the people in Eastern Democratic Republic of Congo. I'm heartbroken across the Sub-Saharan Africa. I'm heartbroken for Latin America. I'm heartbroken for the Global South. I'm heartbroken for Ukraine. We need the youth, and let me end with this, because only then can we change the world, and you will be the ones. It's a poem I wrote years ago when I wrote my book for humanity, The Case for Humanity. In all that you dream to possess and achieve, seek to remove the I and the me. In all that you yearn to become and to be, seek to merge the they and the we. Beyond all that we crave and all that we wish, there is a greater what shall be. The goal of all human life, humanity set free. Thank you very much.
Yeah, us neither.
Me?
No, we hear you.
No, I just wanted to say life is not linear. And the more up and down it goes, the more we grow. So take it and embrace it.
Right, absolutely.
Including with the microphone. Please go ahead.
Absolutely. No, and also given that we all are scouts, here is a safe space for these difficulties as well. So we take it as a challenge and we overcome it. Over to you, Marta.
So I would like to start with some of the very strong and powerful messages you just shared with us. And we are so glad to have you here today because you're a person that works through values and with a strong commitment and dedication. And we pretty much appreciate that. You're one of the heroes that is making this world a better place. And recapping a little bit, education is a key for a better world where everyone is part of that change and nobody is left behind. And every person is valued because of their humanity. So thank you very much. And now I will hand over to Olha.
Yeah, we have a few questions for you, and we would be very much delighted to hear your answers, given your occupation, your professional operation. And the first question would be, many crises, such as the crisis of accessible education, the climate crisis, and increasing political turmoil are deeply interconnected, and right now they reinforce each other. While this crisis disproportionately affects young people, many positions of power are still in the hands of older generations. How can we ensure that young people, those who are directly affected by this, have a voice and influence in decision-making process to access this intertwined crisis?
Thank you very much. I mean, as you say, there are so many intertwined crises. I mean, you look at the forest of the Amazons. I mean, we are breathing thanks to that forest. And we also see, I live in New York City, and you can see on the screen how the forest in Amazon is disappearing step by step, almost by the minute. And climate change or climate action overall is an absolute existential necessity for the young people. So there you have climate change. Then we have extreme poverty. To travel to villages and in Mali and in sub-Saharan Africa in the Sahel, and there's nothing. You go into a school, at its best there might be a desk, but there is no school supplies. And the teachers are not receiving any fees, no training. I think that there is the majority of school-age children at the age of 10 in sub-Saharan Africa cannot, by the age of 10, read and comprehend a sentence. That is how poor the education system is, okay? Though the leaders are very committed. I was in Nigeria recently, and we went to northeast Nigeria, where many children and girls and boys have been taken into the bush by militia groups and lost all sense of education. But the Minister of Education, both at the state level and at the federal level, they're so committed to get them back to school. Now, it costs money. We need a better sharing of resources in this world. There is a huge discrepancy in climate change, in extreme poverty, and in armed conflict. Ukraine is today the one country in the global north that is suffering tremendously from an armed conflict that is hurting and destroying the future of Ukrainian children. And Education Cannot Wait has made an investment both in Ukraine, and I'm actually traveling there, but also in Moldova, neighboring country receiving refugees. But besides Ukraine, that should never have ended up in this horrible situation, everything else is happening in the global south. The poverty, the conflicts, the loss of resources, though it's a very resourceful part of the world. We need to shift that. We need a balanced world where every human being, global north, global south, east, west, is treated the same and have the same opportunity to educate themselves and to build a life that is productive to the humanity. And we look to the youth to create what I call ethical politics. Ethical politics. Politics in itself is nothing wrong. It's an instrument. Politics is when you do your bed every morning. Politics is how you behave in school. But you have to be ethical. Value system and universal values. Not my system. Not your system. Universal values to which we all have agreed upon in the UN Charter and Declaration for Human Rights.
Absolutely. Thank you so much for this powerful, insightful message. And as you said, these values should be common for all of us. And I'm really happy to say that our values, they are the basic human values, right, Marta?
Yes, absolutely. And I would like to hand over a little bit to our next question. But first, thank you so much for highlighting the idea that we really need to allocate all the resources that are needed to ensure that children and young people are able to shape a world where everybody's feeling safe, where everybody can contribute to the future we want to live in. And that leads me to my next question. So how does education cannot wait balance the immediate educational needs of children in crisis with the long-term visions of sustainable development and education reform?
Well, first of all, education cannot wait operate in two ways. We are a very big global fund within the United Nations system. We enjoy very strong support from our Secretary General, Antonio Guterres, and the Deputy Secretary General, Mina Mohammed, who was here. We were created by the former Prime Minister of UK, Gordon Brown, who is also the UN Special Envoy for Education, and I am the Executive Director. We are a big community, so it's my team at the Secretariat, but it's all education community. Many member states of the UN are part of it and contribute finances. We have one window where we can invest multi-year to make sure that everyone can go to school from pre-primary through 12th grade. And then we have something called the first emergency response, which means that we can come in immediately when there's a crisis. Now, we need funding for that, and we have mobilized close to $2 billion, but this is not enough when you have close to 230 million children in conflicts, extreme poverty or conflict, and as you said, the multitude of crises, climate change, or as refugees. So you can just imagine, just extreme poverty alone is a horrible, horrible experience for a child. Now you add to that conflict, extreme, absurd violence, which I've already mentioned, and violations, and on top of it you have to flee. What we do, and I will give you a few examples. When Sudan conflict broke out, we were the first entity to respond with financial resources to the High Commissioner for Refugees and the United Nations Children Fund and the International Catholic Relief Service, quickly to support refugees and the Norwegian Refugee Council, I think, in all 5 refugee receiving countries. We were very, very fast. Within a month or two, we had ensured that the fleeing refugees were taken care of. And that's one reason I'm here in Egypt, is to see how well received they are by the government of Egypt, and under the government of Egypt's leadership, together with the United Nations civil society, is actually providing education through our investments. But I would appeal to everyone who has the ability, and certainly in the global north, the Egyptian government is doing all it can, but the capacity is stretched when you get a big influx of refugees. The same is happening to Ukrainian refugees coming into neighboring countries in Europe. When Gaza imploded, we were the first to provide investment for psychosocial services and mental health to the children of Gaza, working through UN agencies and the Norwegian Refugee Council, I think already in November, because they are all traumatized. The same in Eastern Democratic Republic of Congo, where we work with the Nobel Prize winner also in northeast Nigeria, Dr. Mukwege, where girls are being raped as a means of warfare. In Eastern Congo, 200,000 girls alone. Some of them are even babies. The magnitude of cruelty in this world, toppled by climate change and the lack of sharing resources to invest in education, it's quite mind-blowing. And that's why it's so important to get rid of that selfish interest or the means or the ends justify the means. No, stay the course and be an honorable human being of values, diversity, and humanity for everyone that crosses your path in this world. Humanity is the highest virtue to which we can aspire as human beings. And I hope that you as the Scouting movement will drive that. Important for education it's the teachers, but it's also the parents. From the moment a child is born is how you treat your child, the value system that comes from home. What are you being taught as a child? That you're a member of humanity or just of your tribe? Well, we don't have space for tribes anymore. That belongs to the past. We are one humanity of 8 billion people. And that means we need to have humanity in our hearts. I hope that responds, and that comes with education. Yes. Education of the mind, education of the soul, and above all, education of the heart. Education of the heart. I always say, I always say, when you face a challenge, and it's easy to, get emotional about it and get back to that sort of primitive tribal state of mind, and say, don't cancel your head, cancel your heart, because in your heart dwells a greater mind.
Wow.
Bravo.
Thank you, Yasmine, for all that you are sharing with us today. I think it's been very valuable for us. And trying to recap a little bit, I've really liked your idea of that big community, and the idea of being a global community is the only thing that can ensure safety, feeling part of a bigger thing than just ourselves. And that is the only thing that will give us the strength, but also the possibility to really improve the world we are living in. So we ensure every person is able to live a happy life and a fulfilling life. And now, Olha, do we have any other more questions?
Yes, for sure. We do have one question, but before that, I would like to say a huge thank you for your message, because this is something that resonates with me specifically as a person from Ukraine, as a refugee myself. But I also know that there are a lot of people in this room who are facing the same challenge, who are going through the same pain, and who suffer exactly as I do. So thank you very much for that. It really touched the bottom of my heart. And the last question maybe is not that linked to the previous one for sure, but we'd like to ask you the following question. In a world fraught with challenges, what advice would you offer to all of us, to all of those young people who are passionate about creating a better future, but maybe unsure of how to begin or sustain their efforts?
It's a very good question. First of all, before I answer that, and I think it's part of the answer, I would like to thank the Scouting movement and the World Scouting movement, because I come from a home of humanity and diversity, having an Egyptian father, a Swedish mother, and joining the UN and becoming a scout at an early age. I think I wouldn't be sitting here with you if I had not become a scout at the age of 7. That has determined my life path and my value system. So thank you to the World Scout movement, because for whatever my life has taken the course, It started at home and by being a scout. So thank you. And my advice to you, all of you is, and you experience that when you speak for humanity, when your heart is soft and your mind has a moral clarity on what is right and wrong, which you can find in the Universal Declaration of Human Rights, you can find, I'm sure, also in the scouting movement, and I learned that when I was a scout. You will confront opposition. You will confront people who will be aggressive or disagree with you. And I would say it's all about conquering your fears as you stand with humanity. Conquer your fears. Or as someone said, I shall act as my conscience dictates, and I know I will be looked after. It's better, as one of our great Secretary Generals, Dag Hammarskjöld, said, if you have nothing worth risking, your comfort for, you won't have anything worth living for either. Don't be afraid. Conquer your fears. And know that as long as you are there for the word and for humanity, and for those who cannot speak for themselves because they are so oppressed or suffering so much in the darkest corners of the world, give them space, be their voice, and never fear. Look fear in the eyes and say, you think you can scare me? You think you are the storm? No. I am the storm. I fear no one except my conviction in humanity. Thank you.
Thank you so much. I see some tears in your eyes, Marta.
Yeah.
And I feel exactly the same way. Thank you so much.
Thank you to you.
It's been a great pleasure to have you here, and it's been really, truly inspiring to listen to your contributions. And I feel they were not only enlightening, but they also motivated us to work further, to strive for creating a better future. And for sure, we look forward to cooperating on you with this matter, because as you said, we have a huge human capacity. We have 57 million of scouts and adults who are ready to work on this. But sometimes we lack the financial resource for sure, and some informational advice as well. So that was indeed a powerful and strong speech, and we're incredibly grateful to have you here tonight. This morning. Can't wait to see the closing ceremony. Not yet.
Yeah, I would like to just finish by saying, Yasmine, thank you so much. Today we have here the representatives of most of the countries where we have scouting, most of our National Scouts organization, and you have impacted everybody's hearts here, and this is going to transfer by the representatives to the scout leader, to all of our children and young people. So thank you very much for being here with us today, and thank you for all that you have been doing, are doing, and will continue doing for the world.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you so much. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Yasmine.
Lovely to meet you.
Thank you so much, my dear.
Thank you, Yasmine, Marta, and Oa. As we have been listening to the panel, our time capsule. Thank you, amazing people. As we have been listening to our panel, our time capsule has traveled around